Hello, hello, mic check, mic check. Okay, I'm gonna start sharing my screen so you can see my presentation. All right, you should be able to see my screen. You should be able to hear me. Just gonna double check. Everything is all good. All right. So, hello, my name is Christopher Nuzzolo, and this is my final presentation titled Rewriting the Picture, Hearing the Lion's Voice in Literature Today. Today I'll be answering the question, who painted the lion? We'll be looking at how literature changes when the silenced people, who are usually seen as the other, are finally the ones who are able to tell the story. Let's get started. Now, for a prompt overview. So this idea comes from Aesop's fable. A man and a lion see a painting of a man killing a lion, and the lion says, "Who painted the lion?" The point is, if the lion painted it, it would look very different. That's the theme of this whole presentation. We're looking at texts that let the lion speak from its perspective, meaning people who've been historically silenced or overlooked. When those people speak, we get a whole new picture. Book 9 of the Odyssey. Here we see a famous Greek vase from the Metropolitan Museum showing Odysseus blinding the Cyclops. Odysseus then brags, "I deceived him with lies, and then drove the stake into his eye." Homer 9. He's the hero, but only because he's the one telling the story. Now, this would be completely different if the Cyclops told it. Suddenly, Odysseus might seem like the villain. This slide shows how power shapes narrative. The lion didn't paint this scene, the human did. Now, slide 4, The Tempest by Shakespeare. This public domain illustration shows Caliban crouching in the shadows of the island. Prospero says, "This thing of darkness, I acknowledge mine." He calls Caliban a monster. But if Caliban told the story, maybe he called Prospero a colonizer of some sort. Just like the Cyclops, Caliban doesn't get to control how he's seen. But the play paints him from the outside rather than the inside. If he were the painter, the story would look much different. Saigon by Puck Tran. This is the cover of Puck Tran's memoir. One quote that stood out to me was that I had to include: "Be less Asian. Be bullied less. I tried to erase my otherness." Tran 3. This means that Tran grew up trying to survive by hiding his true identity and who he was. In this book, though, he takes back the pen. He's the one painting the lion now. His story shows how personal and political it is to speak your truth in a time of silence. Slide 9. Home by Warren Sine. This image of a refugee boat was drawn by Jessica Stewart and really captures the urgency in Warsan Shire's poem. She writes, "No one puts their children in a boat unless the water is safer than the land." Let that sink in. Her words let us use the word her sorry, her words let us see the world from the perspective of a refugee. Shire gives a voice to people who are often labeled as statistics rather than people. Her poetry is raw but also honest, and this is the line finally being heard. Oklahoma by Emi Nekhukazamatali. Here's a photo of Emi Nekhukazamatali. Her poem, Oklahoma, tells us about a simple but powerful moment. Someone asks her, "What are you?" And she responds, "I am a teacher," but that's not what they meant. This quote shows how people of color are often made to feel like outsiders or even mistreated, even when they're born and raised here in the US. Her poem is a quiet but echoes from someone who's tried and tired of being seen as the other. Song of Myself by Walt Whitman. I chose this image by Nadia Senko to show how Whitman blends with nature, just like how he blends contradictions. He writes, "Do I contradict myself? Very well, then I contradict myself." Whitman 51. He's not a marginalized voice, but his message connects to them. He gives space for people to be complex, speak the truth, and to also hold multiple meanings. That's a key part of letting the lion speak. Wife of Bath's prologue. This medieval text from the British Library shows the wife of Bath among the pilgrims. She says, "Experience, though no authority were in this world, is right enough for me." Chaucer. She doesn't care what men or the church think. Rather, she's telling her story her way. For a woman in the medieval ages, that's extremely dangerous. She's not just a character, but she's a challenge to every man who tried to silence her. What now? Why this matters? This slide sums it all up. When the lion tells a story, the whole picture changes. We gain empathy, we hear truths that were left out, and we start to realize how many stories we've only heard from a singular point of view, rather than the one point of view that history deems as correct. And finally, all of these texts, poems, and pieces of artwork are from ancient epics to modern memoirs, and these show how power shapes stories. But when we let marginalized voices speak, they don't just add to the conversation, but they transform it. And we stop seeing just the hunter, and we start to see the lion. And finally, here are all the text that I have used and my citations for both the images and the text. Every quote and image was chosen carefully to support the idea that voice matters and so does perspective. Thank you for watching, and I appreciate you and your feedback. Really hope you enjoyed it. I had a lot of fun creating this. Thank you.